system failed again today. Big, big time. They are wrong.
Tonight, a family whose son was shot and killed says the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
We've got kids, 14-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 24-year-olds, who have never been able to drink out of their own homes.
The leader of the federal NDP begins a cross-country tour of Indigenous communities in the First Nation with the longest-running boil water advisory in Canada. And more than a decade after it was launched, the RCMP in Manitoba confirm a criminal investigation has been underway at a former residential school. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. We begin in Alberta, where a man has been convicted of manslaughter in the 2019 death of a 24-year-old Siksika hockey player. But friends and family say the justice system has failed yet again. Tamara Pimentel has this report out of Calgary.
Melody, a young man, steps out of the courthouse and joins dozens in a healing song as the trial of her son's killer comes to an end. Brandon Giffin was found guilty of manslaughter in the death of 24-year-old Christian, a young man, over 2 years ago.
We're gonna walk away humbly, loving, kind, caring, the way we taught my son, Kakadusi Christian, a young man. What happened today, yes, we're all disappointed. We expected that highest charge. I left it in the hands of the court.
In March, Brandon's brother, Cody Giffin, was sentenced to 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to manslaughter. According to an agreed statement of facts, a young man sold Cody a pack of cigarettes that wasn't full, prompting a fight outside of a Strathmore, Alberta pub, then to an apartment building. Brandon Giffin came out of that building with a hunting rifle, and that's when a young man and his friends fled in a truck. The Giffins followed them and pulled over. Brandon fired the rifle, striking and killing a young man. His mother says she believes Brandon Giffin should have been charged with murder.
Our justice system failed again today. Big, big time. They are wrong. You take a life, you aim a gun where there's human beings. That's murder.
Giffin's defense lawyer, Derek Jugmeet, says his client is relieved to possibly return to parent his own children.
Yeah, well, there's no question Mr. Giffin is relieved with the verdict from a legal standpoint. But the reality remains of the tragedy that occurred back in March of 2019, and he has to live with that reality the rest of his life, knowing that he took another's life.
But for Melody, a young man, and her daughter, Kyla Rose, who dances for her brother, some positive change needs to come from this tragedy.
Times need to change. Things need to change. I hope they learn from their decisions from today. We're not here to create riots. Today's different. Look at us being peaceful. That's the way it should be. We're all getting along, all of us here. And that's the way it should be.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Now to Edmonton, where Bradley Barton has been sentenced to 12.5 years in prison for killing Cindy Gladue. Gladue was found dead in a bathtub in Bradley Barton's Edmonton hotel room just over 10 years ago. Edmonton police charged Barton just days later, but he was acquitted of first-degree murder in 2015. In 2019, the Supreme Court of Canada ordered a new trial, and in February, Barton was convicted of manslaughter. He was sentenced today in Edmonton. John Murray reports on that decision.
Today, Bradley Barton was sentenced to 12.5 years for the horrific assault and killing of Cindy Gladue. Alberta Court Justice Stephen Hillier said Barton had an intolerable level of blameworthiness. He failed to get medical help and misled investigators. Hillier said some of Barton's actions were deliberate, like blaming co-workers and hiding a towel. Barton's defense argued those lies were made up in a panic, but the judge wasn't having that, saying his guilt was proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Crown prosecutors were seeking an 18 to 20-year sentence, while the defense argued Barton only deserved 5 to 9 years. Barton will serve 11 years, 7 months after credit for time served. John Murray, APTN National News, Edmonton.
To the East Coast now, and in southwestern Nova Scotia, the Migma are harvesting lobster following their own food social fishery plan. But they say a large presence of police and fishery officers is intimidating and infringing on their treaty rights. Angel Moore was on the waters with the Migma fishers and brings us this story.
Community member Angela Sloan-White is learning to fish with her own tags. She feels great about it, but is worried.
Oh, well, of course it makes you feel more proud. It's you're showing your community that, you know, you can get out there and practice your rights and hopefully not have any problems doing that.
Shai Francis says officers are around the wharf every day. She spoke with a fisheries officer last month.
When they told me they wanted to know when we were going out, I even asked them why, because you're going to handcuff us, you're going to charge us even before we get out in the water.
The Department of Fisheries and Oceans vessel was visible on St. Mary's Bay with lobster traps on board. Skantaga lobster harvesters are fishing for food, social, and ceremony, and were worried those traps had been seized from a community member. Francis says there's been more RCMP and DFO present in the last few weeks.
They're not working with us. If they were working with us, then we wouldn't have, our people wouldn't feel so attacked. When they're going up to our boats and they're asking for identification and whatnot, it feels like we've done something wrong when we actually didn't.
The Fisheries Department would not confirm they hauled traps, but did say if fisheries officers are hauling and inspecting fishing gear, they would be performing this lawful activity to ensure that gear is set and fishing is in compliance with the Fisheries Act. Chief Mike Sachs spoke with the department.
So I'm not sure if it was from other communities or untagged traps from other people as well. I'm not sure what it was, but they did tell me that they would not be taking our food, social, ceremonial lobster traps.
Skantanaga's new food, social, and ceremony plan increases 3 lobster traps to 5, and the option to sell 25% of their catch to offset the costs. The plan has been sent to the Department of Fisheries, who told APTN they are reviewing the document. Sachs says,
we just sent in our plan to make them aware of it, and we approved it, so that's all that matters in my mind.
The Department of Fisheries did not confirm an increased presence of officers in the area, but did say high visibility patrols occurring in St. Mary's Bay, which may be perceived as an increase in fishery officer presence to promote compliance with the Fisheries Act. However, the RCMP did confirm an increased presence. Numerous vehicles are at the Meteghan Fire Department. We have additional resources in the area as a precautionary measure in consideration of our role of promoting public safety and investigating criminal activity. However, Francis says she feels intimidated and fears her gear and catch will be seized.
They ain't here to protect us. They're here to monitor us to see when they're going to attack us and make an excuse to come after us.
As the fishery continues, the Migma are protecting themselves. The Skantaga fisheries have a guardian zipping around the water on a Zodiac, making sure the Migma fishery fleet is safe. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Saulnieville, Nova Scotia.
In Manitoba, the RCMP have revealed details of an investigation into sexual abuse at the former Fort Alexander Residential School in Saugeen First Nation. More than a decade ago, the RCMP's Major Crime Services began gathering information to determine what took place following allegations of sexual abuse at the Fort Alexander Residential School. A year later, a criminal investigation was launched. Throughout it, officers spoke to or interacted with more than 700 people from across North America. With more, here's Daryl Stranger.
While the RCMP does not normally comment on ongoing investigations, they felt this time it was in the public's best interest to provide information. Now, the Fort Alexander Residential School is in operation from 1905 until 1970. Investigators traveled to Ottawa to review available archive records to identify anyone involved. Investigators also searched the Manitoba archives to gather further historical information. Now, 75 witnesses and victim statements were obtained by police, and as a result, an investigative court package was sent to prosecution services to provide advice regarding charges. Now, Manitoba RCMP said this is the only investigation they have ongoing regarding residential schools in the province. I did reach out to RCMP headquarters asking if there were any other investigations like this, but I did not hear back from them by our airtime. Now, First Nations leaders and organizations have also been in contact with the RCMP, including the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and the Southern Chiefs Organization. Sagging Chief Derek Henderson did provide the following statement. Violation of the privacy rights of those involved in this investigation will not only cause further trauma to everyone involved, but also potentially compromise this highly sensitive investigation. Now, no charges have been laid as of yet, and the investigation is still ongoing. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
They went to a hospital in Quebec and never returned. Members of the Atikamekw, Innu, and Anishinaabe nations recently met for a week of commemoration for a tragedy they all have in common: their deceased and missing children. This is a story by Shushan Bacon, read by Tom Fenario.
Happy Birthday is usually sung during a celebration, but not this time. In this case, Viviane Echaquan-Nikwe is singing for her sister Loriana Echaquan. Loriana was born in 1973, but after being transported by plane to a hospital from her remote community of Manawan, she died without the accompaniment of her parents.
Parce que quand ma sœur est décédée, j'avais 12 ans. Puis ma mère, elle disait, nous a demandé au dispensaire, c'est là qu'ils ont appelé pour l'annoncer, la mauvaise nouvelle. Ils ont dit que bébé Chacoan est décédé.
Dozens gathered at a traditional campsite for the Atikamekw Nation to remember children who went missing or died during the 50s, 60s, and 70s in Quebec. Their circumstances are often similar to what Echaquan-Nikwe describes. A child gets sick in a remote community, is taken elsewhere without a parent, then never returns. Many families never saw a body or a burial. Pierre-Paul Nikwe has two brothers who went missing in the late 50s. As toddlers, they went to a hospital and then never came back. Despite this somber occasion, Pierre-Paul is happy to see everyone who answered the call to attend this gathering.
On a une association qui est l'association Awashek, les petits êtres de lumière, on participe, mais l'événement il a été fait à titre par des familles qui se sont engagées personnellement. C'est séparé de l'association Awashek. Mais on travaille ensemble.
This sharing circle is made of family members who have lost a loved one. In the middle, they deposit objects in honor of the children. In 2017, the story of many of these children came out during the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women National Inquiry. Without the knowledge of their parents, some children were simply placed with non-Indigenous families once they recovered from their illnesses, which leaves doubts in Echaquan-Nikwe's mind about what really happened to Loriana.
Une chance que j'ai eu courage. Qu'on fait des démarches de chercher ma sœur Loriana parce que c'est sa fête aujourd'hui, Loriana.
It wasn't just the families that made the trip. Yann Lafreniere is Quebec's Indigenous Affairs Minister. He put the flag of Quebec at half-mast. More concretely, Quebec recently adopted Bill 79. It authorizes access to medical files for the families of missing or deceased Indigenous children that were admitted to a hospital. According to Lafreniere, the estimate of missing children is at least 200. A meeting of families from the Awashak Association will take place in Quebec next September after the law comes into force.
Moi, comme père de famille de 2 jeunes filles, si mes enfants disparaissent en allant chercher des soins de santé, est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose qui va combler ma rage ou ma tristesse ou mon inquiétude aussi de savoir est-ce que mes enfants sont encore vivants? Si oui, sont où? On n'en fera jamais assez, c'est clair, mais il faut commencer à quelque part.
AFN Regional Chief Gislain Picard says that they will continue to push for resources to bring as much closure as possible for the affected families.
Par expérience, il va toujours falloir rappeler le gouvernement sur les attentes que ces familles-là ont. Et pour nous, c'est ça notre rôle. C'est pas quelque chose qu'on veut imposer. Donc, c'est important aussi pour nous de savoir comment les gens se sentent.
For now, Ashakwanikwe and the other families will take all the help they can get to find their sisters, their brothers, their daughters, or their sons.
Moi, je crois à ça, qu'ils vont continuer à faire des recherches de ma sœur. Mais pas juste ma sœur, tout le groupe, la famille, toutes les personnes qui sont ici.
A story by Shoshan Bacon, APTN National News, Lac-de-Selle, Quebec.
Heartbreaking stuff. Still to come, a deal for Grassy Narrows decades in the making. Stay with us. Welcome back. Grassy Narrows residents poisoned by mercury will have a shot at better health care. The federal government has promised to fund a mercury care home. Michelle Karlinzig has more on the nearly $70 million deal.
For half a century, Grassy Narrows residents have dealt with debilitating symptoms from eating fish poisoned with mercury. Robert Williamson is one of those people. He suffers with tremors and paralysis.
I have absolutely no strength. Like I can't even bust a grape. So I have to push my jaw up at the same time to chew. So it's getting worse also.
After today, Williamson may have better access to health care for his symptoms. Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller traveled to Grassy Narrows yesterday and signed a $68.9 million agreement for a mercury care home, a long-term care facility for residents living with mercury poisoning.
There's one thing building the facility, it's one thing operating it with first-class care and mercury treatment that these people deserve, absolutely.
Grassy Narrows has grappled with the effects of mercury poisoning since 1960, after the Dryden Paper and Pulp Mill dumped tons of mercury into the Wabigoon River upstream from the community. A report from 2017 indicated that roughly 90% of the community is living with symptoms of poisoning. Chief Randy Forbister says the signing marked decades of hard work.
I'm very honored to be signing, that agreement. Like I said, we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're here to stay, and the next leadership will just keep taking it on and continue to work.
Minister Miller and Chief Forbister enjoyed a local feast and walked around a drum circle to end the day's festivities. Williams says he's glad to see funding, but the damage goes further than money.
A lot of things were taken away from us by this mercury that was dumped in the river. It took away more than our health. It took away our well-being, and it took away my friends.
Construction on the care facility is set to start in spring 2022. Michelle Karlenzig, APTN National News, Grassy Narrows, First Nation, Ontario.
Federal NDP leader Jugmeet Singh visited the First Nation with the longest boil water advisory in Canada on Monday. The stop in the Skantaga First Nation in Northern Ontario is part of Singh's week-long tour of Indigenous communities. He also visited the evacuees fleeing forest fires who are staying in Thunder Bay. The Skantaga First Nation has been under a boil water advisory for 26 years. Singh says some of the things he heard from the youth in the Skantaga were chilling and heart-wrenching. The NDP leader says some spoke of fighting for clean water at 10 years old and feeling like they're being treated like animals.
We've got kids, 14-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 24-year-olds, who have never been able to drink out of their own homes, the tap in their homes. They don't know what that's like. One youth shared a story of having to go to another community where there was clean drinking water, and her friends asked why she always had bottled water, why she wouldn't just drink the tap. She's like, through my entire life, I grew up not knowing if I could drink the water. I just can't bring myself to do it.
Time for another quick break, but stick around. There's much more to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Our regular contributor William Fowler sent us this beauty photo of a fishing camp along the Widzen-Qua Canyon located on Witsit, British Columbia. Beautiful shot. As health orders turn into recommendations across the country, we would like to see some pictures of your immediate family as you gather for birthday celebrations, special events, or feasts. Send your photos to share at aptn.ca and then tune in each day to see our photo of the day. Time now to take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, 23 and showers for St. John's, 19 with rain in Halifax. Rain in Nain with a high of 10, 20 in Kuujjuaq. 24 under sunny skies for Montreal, 22 in Chibougamau. Sunny and 24 for Sault Ste. Marie, partly cloudy and 24 in North Bay. Showers and 24 for Thunder Bay, 23 with rain in Sioux Lookout. 22 in God's Lake, sunny and 24 for Norway House. 29 with showers in Winnipeg, 35 with rain in Brandon. Sunny and 30 in Regina, 27 in Saskatoon. 21 in Uranium City, 26 for Meadow Lake. Over to northern Alberta, 25 in Fort McMurray and Peace River. 32 in Medicine Hat, sunny, and 28 in Edmonton. Sunny and 25 for Vancouver, smoky, and 34 for Kamloops. 25 in Fort Nelson and Prince George. 17 with rain in Old Crow, 20 for Whitehorse and Mayo. 20 in Yellowknife, 26 for Fort Simpson. 6 in Saxe Harbor, showers in 8 for Pawatuck. 18 in Arviette, 9 in Cambridge Bay. 6 in Resolute, rain, and 4 in Igloolik. Well, sometimes finding your true love takes a lifetime. That's true for these two endangered Galapagos tortoises in Australia who've had their first virtual date over FaceTime. 70-year-old Hugo has been waiting on his mate, Estrella, and her arrival since early 2020. Her transfer from Germany was postponed due to COVID-19. Estrella will have to quarantine when she arrives down under before joining her new boyfriend. And we wish them all the best. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. Stick around. An encore presentation of Face to Face is next. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.